I do think that Graham Potter has figured out a system that works for West Ham United when we play away from home, but when we're playing at home, there definitely still is some work to do, because out of all the performances we have seen from West Ham United since Graham Potter has been in charge, there's only been two that I have been overly disappointed with, and they have been two games at home. The first one against Crystal Palace where we lost 2-0, and the game today where we lost 1-0 against Brentford. When we're away from home, we're tending to set up with a back three with a couple of wing backs, so when we go forward, those wing backs are bombing forward, and then when we are defending, they come back and we form a back five, and that has worked really well for us. But at home, we're not going with that system. We tend to revert back to a back four, and that's what we did today, and we looked so vulnerable defensively, especially when in transition, and Brentford were very good at exposing that today, and I do have to give a lot of credit to Brentford, because I thought in that first half they played some brilliant football. And of course, that's how the first goal comes around. We have the ball in our own half, we lose it, and then they attack with pace. And this is probably the messiest goal you will see all season. And I actually think that Areola did okay. He made a good save here, and he did well to get back to save it here. And in the end, I do feel like he was really unlucky to not keep it out of the goal. And he even had time to do a little bit of breakdancing while all this was going on as well. He did also make a couple of decent saves in this game as well that managed to keep the scoreline so low. Now, that doesn't mean that I was overly pleased with his overall performance, because he still does worry me quite a lot when he's on the ball, and his distribution today was absolutely terrible. But when it comes to shot stopping, Areola definitely did do a good job today and helped keep the scoreline at 1-0. VAR also helped as well, because of course Brentford did have a couple of goals disallowed. Another man who helped keep the scoreline so low today was actually Mavropanos. He made at least two last ditch challenges, which were really good challenges, and if he didn't make them, I do think Brentford would have ended up scoring from those chances that they had. But still, when it comes to Mavropanos, I'm still so unsure on him. His positioning does let him down sometimes, his passing also does let him down sometimes, and it can't be a coincidence that whenever he does start alongside Kilman, we just don't look solid defensively. I don't know if that is down to Mavropanos, or if it is down to the fact that I don't think you get the best out of Kilman when he's playing in a back two. I think you get the best out of him when he is in a back three, because he was caught out of position a couple of times today, and I don't think it was his greatest performance. I don't think he did anything massively wrong though, so it was okay, and he still looks really good on the ball though. He's definitely a lot more comfortable on the ball than Mavropanos is. Now, when it comes to the other defenders, Emerson I thought was pretty much ineffective today, both defensively and going forward, and he was the player who just missed out on the header. I think it was Wisser who was coming through, and Wisser just beat him to the ball, and that led to their first goal, so maybe he could have done a little bit better there. But I think you really noticed how ineffective Emerson was in our first half today when Ollie Scholes came on at half time and played in our second half, because I actually thought he was a lot more effective down that left hand side, and again put in a really good performance. Anyway, going back to the first half, we've talked about how poor we were defensively and how vulnerable we looked, but going forward we looked pretty toothless as well. Now, I do think that we were trying, but nothing was really working out. You know, it was either a bad pass, or it was the wrong decision, or the ball just didn't bounce right. It just was not working for us going forward in our first half. And the player I thought was responsible for quite a few of those poor decisions in the first half, I thought, was Mohamed Kudus. There was a lot of times where I thought he should run with it instead of pass it, or maybe he should make a different pass than what he did. He just always seemed to make the wrong decision in that first half. But I do think that his performance improved in the second half when he moved over to the left-hand side. In the first half, he was playing as a 10 and was pretty much ineffective, but when he did move over to that left in the second half, he definitely caused that Brentford defence a lot more issues. Paquetá was another player who struggled today. He was playing as a false 9, and while that is something that I think works really well when away from home, at home it doesn't seem to work as well. It doesn't, and I think you saw that in the second half when he was moved a little bit deeper and he was playing in that 10. He was definitely a lot more effective, and his performance definitely improved. Owen was lively as usual, but I don't think it was his greatest performance today. Did cause some problems down that right hand side, did get a few crosses in, but they weren't the greatest of crosses, and I do think that maybe he should have had a penalty in that second half. But I do think that Bayern put in a much better performance than these two today. Yeah, they didn't really add much in that midfield, and it definitely was the right decision to remove them at half time. One of the players who did come on at half time, of course, was James Ward-Prowse, and I thought he put in a really good performance and did improve us in in that second half and was a nuisance. It's also great to have him back on set pieces, especially corners. Evan Ferguson also came on at half time, and he didn't get the welcome that I think he was probably hoping for, because when he was brought on, it was announced that we were bringing on Rodriguez instead of Ferguson, and they had to correct that a couple of minutes after the substitution was made. I do think that was quite amusing. Anyway, he came on, and I thought he did well. I thought he did really well. Had a couple of shots, looked really strong, and we had a focal point up there when he came on as well. So yeah, I thought it was a really promising debut from him today. And when he did come on at half time, along with James Ward-Prowse and Ollie Scholes, our performance definitely did improve. We looked more of a threat, we were creating more chances, and we were probably unlucky not to get that equaliser. Kudus had a great chance from 6 yards out, which he skied. It did just bob it up, but it was this man who set him up. But unfortunately, we just couldn't get that goal, and after that 20-minute spell that we had, the game kind of reverted a little bit back to how it was in the first half. We did look better still than we did in the first half, but we were unable to create many more great chances, and Brentford got into the game a little bit more. But really, after that, the game just kind of fizzled out, and it never really felt like we were going to get that equaliser. Quickly before I finish though, I might as well talk about the other two players that I haven't already talked about. Edson Alvarez, I did think that he did really well today, was very lively, was getting himself about, made a couple of good challenges. My one issue with him though is he does tend to hold on to that ball for a little bit too long, and when he does, that does slow our play down. So sometimes I do wish that he moves it on a little bit quicker. And then you got Wan-Bissaka as well, and does look really, really good going forward. Did get caught out a couple of times again though, didn't get back quick enough, but in that second half his performance definitely did improve as well. And I still think he's one of our most consistent performers. So while I do think that Graham Potter has figured out how he wants to approach games when playing away from home, and it seems to be very effective when playing at home, he's definitely still got some work to do. What is the answer? I'm not entirely sure, but I still do have confidence that he will work it out. But still, I am very disappointed with this result today and the performance on a whole, because I did see this game as one that I thought we should be picking up at least a point in. And of course, our next game is now Arsenal away, which is next weekend, and then we return home to play Leicester, and I'm really hoping that we put in a much better performance in that Leicester game than the one we put in today, because we need to be picking up 3 points in that game. The Arsenal one is a difficult game. I'd love it if we can get something there. I'm not expecting it, but that Leicester game is definitely one we should be winning. So there's my thoughts on the game today. I'd love to know your thoughts on the game, so let me know in the comments. And for more West Ham United news, updates and opinions, do not forget to hit that follow button.